Why use the name Jehovah's Witnesses? Because Ruiiiight sounds stupid.
Don't sir me, young man. You have no idea who you're dealing with.
Hello. Okay, so today I want to talk about something that I've never touched on before. So we know we're not talking about myself. No, we're going to do a quick review of frequently asked questions as provided by jw.org. Let's see if their answers align with my responses. You ready?
Let's do it.
So, clearly I will not be going through the details of every single article because I like my sanity. However, for those of you who would like to take a deeper dive, I'll post a link right here. That wasn't meant towards your interest in taking a deeper dive. As a non-governing body member, I highly recommend it. It's just that when I think of jw.org, I either have to do this or this. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or subscribe and like. I'm all about choice. So let's get down to it. Jehovah's Witnesses frequently asked questions. Number 1, why use the name Jehovah's Witnesses? Because Ruiiiight sounds stupid, and God knows that Charles Taze does not want any kind of unwarranted attention.
Right.
Okay, so a quick history lesson is that the organization, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, its members, publishers, which should probably be called peddlers because they don't actually publish anything, but they peddle what's published. For the poor. Publisher sounds so much nicer, doesn't it? I'm one of Jehovah's peddlers. So they used to be called the Bible Students, the main group representing the ideas that originally founded this religion. We were never actually allowed to refer to ourselves as religion. We are a organization, Jehovah's organization. So when the Bible Students went one way, this group of people went another. They named themselves Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty catchy. And you're not a Jehovah's Witness, and you're certainly not an Jehovah's Witness, because that's grammatically incorrect. Most Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't know that because they're not allowed to get educated. But rather, you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses, just like Mr. Smith is one of the agents. Next, how many Jehovah's Witnesses are there worldwide?
How many bucks can you count?
That's a tough one because they are going to have certain numbers because of their census. And then there's the reality of what we know. I mean, it depends. I mean, are you talking about people that are physically in, but mentally out, physically out, mentally in? It's near impossible to tell. However, at last count, I believe there was about 8.5 million Jehovah's Witnesses. And at this point, while they are losing members, they will continue to increase their members very, very, very small percent. And they do this by breeding. If you can't convince others to come and join your club, you have sex and create members. Next, are Jehovah's Witnesses tolerant? Yes. They have a very high tolerance for child sex abuse, child abuse in general. Very, very high tolerance for domestic violence. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read the whole thing. Are Jehovah's Witnesses tolerant of other religions? No. Their answer is, we follow the Bible's advice to respect everyone regardless of their religious beliefs. For my entire life, I love discussing people's beliefs. I like to know why they think the way that they do, how they come to certain conclusions the way they do, minus what kind of medication they might be on. I just enjoy it. So for years, of course, I could talk to the Jehovah's Witnesses. And the Mormons are easy picking. They come to your house too. So back in the day when my mom thought I was still savable, she's a good Jehovah's Witness, so she still thinks I am. But back in the day, when she was having people come and witness with me, most who never came back,
Goodbye, me Satan.
she was over at my house, and as we were wrapping up our study, I explained to my mom, you're going to have to leave shortly because I have the Mormons coming over. Holy hell, you need to be careful, Cassandra. They're a cult, and they sacrifice live chickens. You know, Mom, that doesn't sound very tolerant. The reality is that's exactly how Jehovah's Witnesses feel. They are afraid of any other belief system. They do not delve delve into what other people believe, because that's point blank against their religion. Literally. They are not to visit other religions. They are not to research other religions. And of course, they can't associate with people who are from other religions. So, next. Beliefs. What do Jehovah's Witnesses believe? Okay, so let's get a summary of top 15 Jehovah's Witness beliefs. Let's go through this list real quick. God. We worship the one true and almighty God, the Creator, whose name is Jehovah. And lo and behold, the first scripture I ever learned, Psalms 83:18. Psalms 83:18. I don't know what that was. Yes, I would say they worship God. They just don't like it if you refer to their God, which may be the God, by any other name aside from what they have labeled him, because that's not the true God. Dude, if there is an end, so many people are going to be shitting themselves. We recognize the Bible as God's inspired message to humans, which include the Old Testament, New Testament. So yes, they do believe in a Bible. However, it was translated by someone who was not fluent. Brother Franz, not Ray. The other one, who was not fluent in either of the languages that the Bible was written in. But being that he was on the board of an organization that was already keen on manipulating people, I would not say it was translated well. It is translated to fit their beliefs. We recognize that parts of the Bible are written in figurative or symbolic language and are not to be understood literally. And I will let you know they also determine this through time, which scriptures are literal and which scriptures are figurative. So again, it just depends on how they're feeling at the time. We followed the teachings and example of Jesus, right down to martyring ourselves if Jehovah deems it necessary. So, all right, I go with that. Number 4, they believe in the kingdom of God. Now, this is a real government in heaven. It will replace human governments and accomplish God's purpose for the earth. Yeah, I guess I could say that's true. It's not incredibly impressive, but is anything. Next, salvation. We believe that there is deliverance from sin and death by the ransom sacrifice of Jesus. In order to benefit from that sacrifice, there's always a catch. People must not only exercise faith in Jesus, but also change their course of life and get baptized. The younger you are, the better. Now, one thing that always cracked me up is Jehovah's Witnesses wish that their children are baptized as early as possible, but they have to have like a full understanding. This involves not only a spiritual maturity, but an exceptional amount of knowledge, as determined by the governing body.
Well, which way did it go, George? Which way did it go?
So the younger your child can get baptized, the better. However, they are incredibly critical of Catholics doing baby baptisms, and that Mormons strive to baptize at the age of 8. Jehovah's Witnesses will like to brag that is way too young. However, there have been kids baptized that young. My God, their parents must have been proud. And I'm guessing his, or her, probably his, grandfather was the presiding overseer. Extra points! Heaven. They believe in heaven, that Jehovah, Jesus, and the faithful angels will reside in the spirit realm. Many people believe in heaven and hell growing up, at least in generations past before the internet. They do not believe that the good go to heaven and the bad go to hell. They do believe that
Only the good die young.
That's not the Jehovah's Witnesses. They do believe that people who are good and faithful according to all criteria will live forever in a paradise on earth, and that only 144,000 selected special people will rule in heaven. In fact, I was raised that we don't want to live in heaven. Being an angel would be boring. We were always encouraged to not want to live in heaven, but to be satisfied with the fact that we will live forever in paradise on earth. And from how it looks, it don't look like it's going to be a big old party either. Next, earth. Yes, Jehovah's Witnesses believe in earth. That's all I got. Jehovah's Witnesses on evil and suffering. These begin when one of God's angels rebelled.
Could it be
Satan? This angel, who after his rebellion was called Satan and Devil. Sticks and stones, Jehovah. Sticks and stones. He persuaded the first human couple to join him, and the consequences have been disastrous for their descendants. So in order to settle the moral issue raised by Satan, God has allowed evil and suffering. Evil and suffering. My God, his generosity is bountiful, is it not? So, when shit's hitting the fan, whether it be a death in the family, a chronic illness, a deadly one, just remember, you thank Jehovah. You thank him for allowing this suffering in order to settle what sounds like a bet with Satan. You know, kind of like what happened with Job, but on a really big scale. Next, death. People who die pass out of existence. They do not suffer in a fiery hell. God will bring back millions by means of a resurrection. Those who refuse to learn God's ways, no ultimatum there, after being raised to life, will be destroyed forever with no hope of a resurrection. You could play how I want to play, or I'm going to take my ball and go home. His ball is the earth. Family. We adhere to God's original standard of marriage as union of one man and one woman, with sexual immorality being the only valid basis for divorce. And this is incredibly true. In their grand support of child sex abuse, spousal abuse, any kind of domestic, anything that violates the right of others, you may not get a divorce. Unless you have committed sexual immorality. It may seem that child sex abuse would fall under that category. There appears to be a lot of subcategories because in most cases, not only is the perpetrator given a very, very swift pat on the head and don't do that again, but I've also never seen people get divorced over it. And granted, I only went to 3 congregations, California, Arizona, and Nevada. I've never seen it happen. In fact, I've seen spouses encouraged to stick with their violating spouse and try to make it work. Oh, and then clearly they do not believe in any relationship outside of male and female. So if you are gay or lesbian, now you can be one of Jehovah's Witnesses so long as you don't practice your immoralness of having same-sex interactions with anyone, especially interactions of the heart. In that case, love is bad. We do not venerate the cross or any other images. Yes, they are anti-cross because of this whole thing of celebrating and memorializing. I speak English. Memorializing. Fuck it. Celebrating the torture and murder of Jesus by way of wearing that which represents his means of death, a cross. They equate it to if the closest member of your family was shot and murdered viciously, would you wear a gun around your neck? No, really, that was my defense as a child. We kind of looked down at people who had crosses. It's kind of gross. However, they do have jw.org. It's okay to wear pins, to have little baggies, to have purses embroidered with their lovely, lovely version of the cross. It's this. Next, our organization. We are organized into congregations, each of which is overseen by a body of elders. The elders do not form a clergy class. That's a lie. They like to pull the clergy card as soon as they are reprimanded for not reporting child sex abuse. And they're unsalaried. That's the truth. Jehovah's Witnesses are encouraged to keep very minuscule jobs, things that don't take up a lot of their time, because anything that takes up time takes away from Jehovah, another name for the organization. When they want to get their members to do something, they're doing it on behalf of Jehovah. You will rarely, if ever, hear them say that we think we need more donations. No. Jehovah has guided us that to do this worldwide work, we need more donations. That's the way it's always going to be. Our activities are supported by anonymous donations, and yeah, it's anonymous. We'll get into donations at another time. I might have a little bit of guilt about that. Thank God they don't believe in hell. The governing body is a small group of mature Christians, incredibly old and ignorant, who serve at our world headquarters and provide direction. Their direction will change from different decades and even from year to year. Next, our unity. We are globally united in our beliefs. This is true. Anywhere that you go in the world, the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to serve and celebrate their beliefs in the same way they do from country to country. Now, some people might go, well, that's not true. In Nigeria, I've been watching a lot of 90 Day Fiancé, so Nigeria is my go-to. Nigeria will have the same belief system. The funny part is, as soon as you have something negative to say about any congregation, the first thing they will say is, well, that's probably just that congregation. That's probably because it was a small town, an undeveloped congregation. So the moment that anything negative happens, all of a sudden they're like, that would never happen in my congregation. If you were in Australia and you said something about a congregation in the US, it would be, that's the United States. And vice versa. China, Russia. Well, in other countries it's different. Well, I'm sorry. According to number 10, they are globally united in their beliefs. So, per Jehovah, it has to be the same. 14, our conduct. We strive to show unselfish love. We avoid practices that displease God, including the misuse of blood by taking blood transfusions. Now, I find it really interesting that they don't say immediately like child abuse, murder. No, they go straight to the one thing, the first go-to they have that displeases God. You may not accept a blood transfusion. Next. We are peaceful and do not participate in warfare. We respect the government where we live today and obey its laws, as long as they do not call upon us to disobey God's laws. And God's laws are written per the governing body. So, if the government says we're going to war, Jehovah's Witnesses say, that conflicts with what Jehovah, the governing body, likes, and it displeases him. So, no. I'm surprised they haven't figured out a way for their members to avoid taxes, because it would mean more money for the body. So no, they do not respect the government. In fact, there was an article I was recently reading in regards to vaccinations, where they were directing their members, please make sure that you are following whatever it is the government is saying, which goes to show you that it's not just a natural path to follow what your government mandates or doesn't mandate. The governing body will pick and delegate which things they listen to and which things they don't. So I'm not sure how that's considered respect. I pulled that shit as a child. My mom would beat my ass, which is also not a sin. Next. Jesus commanded, love your neighbor as yourself, as long as they are Jehovah's Witnesses. Because we are to be no part of this world and to have a relationship with someone next door, someone you go to school with, someone you work with, if you're allowed to have a job and go to school, and they are not a Jehovah's Witness. Well, we all know the bad association spoils useful habits, so no. They do not love thy neighbor as thyself, as themselves. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That's fine by me, because I don't want any of them loving me the way they love themselves. Because there's a lot of self-loathing. Oh, and we respect the choices that others make. No, that's also not true. Because if you have a family member that makes the choice to no longer be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, they are cut off.
God, I love you.
And this has changed throughout the years, and will continue to do so as their membership fluctuates. Numbers go low. They're like, we should embrace some of the former witnesses. Numbers get high, and they're feeling like a mighty army, and we're very selective about who can be in our club. The one thing that Jehovah's Witnesses are taught to not respect is choice. Choice is bad. Let's pause and pick this up in a part 2. Cheers to 2022. My white trash wine glass has gotten a little bigger, eh? So yes, definitely we'll come back and delve in deeper. Because if you've got questions, they've got answers. I mean, they might be complete lies, but they're still answers. And we'll hold hands through it together. And until then, I'll see you next time.
I'm on the television!